How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to In the Pit with Steve. I am the chairman of the Mosh Pit Dropkick. My name is Steve, and we are here today to check out a new song from one of my favorite bands. This is Fit For An Autopsy with their new song Hostage. This is coming from the upcoming album, The Nothing That Is. They announced it earlier this week, along with a big tour. I am very excited. I already pre-ordered my vinyl. I'm already kind of doing the mental gymnastics in my head of how I'm going to go see them on tour because they're not really playing anywhere near me. So it's just one of those situations where it's like, I can't just drive there and drive back. I'm going to have to get a hotel, stay out of state. But I would very much like to see them. It's been a while. I've seen this band live quite a bit. The first time I saw them was back in 2013. They were one of the kind of middle of the day bands at New England Metal and Hardcore Fest. I was already a fan of the band, leading up to that. And so it was a lot of fun to see them live finally. A few years after that, they did a run through kind of near where I live, where I actually saw them every night for a few days in a row because I just caught multiple dates on the tour. So I'm a big fan. I have not heard the song. It actually just came out. Well, it came out at midnight. Typically I film these in advance. I'm filming this the same day that this video is going to go up. But I wanted to do the song for the channel, and they released the audio on Spotify and all that last night at midnight. And I guess if you had Sirius XM, they were running the song on the radio yesterday. But then I saw that they were actually putting out a music video. I thought maybe we would just kind of get like a static, here's pre-order the album kind of thing and just get the audio, but they actually put out a music video. So I'm excited. I'm glad that I waited. So I have not heard this. I have not heard any clips when they're popping up on social media, promoting it. I made sure to have my mute on. I didn't want to get spoiled by anything. I'm curious to see what direction they're going, if they're kind of continuing that path they've been on for the past couple of records where they've gotten maybe a little bit more melodic in spaces. I am excited. It's always a good time when one of your favorite bands has, a new album coming out, a new tour, new music, the whole thing. So very exciting. I guess we'll just get right into it. So without any further ado, let's get in the pit with Fit For An Autopsy. We'll stop it there for we don't stop it on a blank screen. We'll back it up a little bit. I like this, that little guitar noodly part there kind of underneath everything throughout that last section is super catchy. I really, really like it. Joe Bad's one of my favorite vocalists out there right now. I really like the way he blends his harsh vocals and his clean vocals. Couple of interesting lyrical lines here. Was it heavy as the stone of sorrow? Something about like the ghost of guilt or something. I think he just said something like that. So they always have some interesting lyrical themes present throughout. And I honestly cannot remember for the life of me. I don't remember if Joe is the primary lyricist or if maybe Pat, the guitar player, is. I genuinely can't remember. I want to say it's probably Joe, but I'll have to look that up for certain because I cannot remember. But yeah, I mean, so far this is really solid stuff. It started off a little like, maybe this isn't it didn't have like the greatest start, but as we've gotten into it, I really, really like what they're doing. That guitar riff, yeah, I'm gonna go back to that, man, because that's some good stuff. That's like a really nice touch to that part, because I could see where a band would have made the decision to just leave something like that out, but adding that to it is really nice. And also Josane's drumming is always just, that guy is a monster. If you ever see them live, that dude is inhuman on the drum set. Yeah, let's get back into it. Also, I like the fact that they did like a full video. It's not just, a performance video, though, obviously it has the performance stuff. I like that bands are kind of starting to get away from that a little bit, instead of just, here's us in a factory, here's us in a field, whatever it may be, like have a little bit of story and stuff to it. I get that not every band can do it. Not every band has the resource and budget to do it, but it's nice when they can. Bell ride, or the ride bell part. Right on. Eric Richter. Not familiar with that name. I really liked it overall. I thought the guitar solo was really interesting. It was not what I expected it to be. It was definitely like sonically, it was definitely kind of out there a little bit, but I think it ultimately fits pretty well with the song. That was really the only kind of part that really kind of, I guess, in a way, like threw me for a loop. Oh, there's so many out of focus shots. There we go. I think that this song is kind of a showcase for Joe on vocals. This is the most, his cleans in this song are definitely the most like kind of like mainstream I've ever heard him sound. Like his cleans don't feel out of place with something that you would hear in a more radio friendly capacity, or something that's a little bit more palatable, I guess, to the masses. I mean, the song is still very heavy. The band's still called Fit For An Autopsy, so it's not like they're going to be, you know, I don't think they're going to be making that huge of a genre. God, can't talk today. That huge of a genre shift. There we go. But I like it. I like that every time they come out with new material, they incorporate some different elements into it. And I think this having that almost like pop structure in a way, really is they really lend themselves well to it, because if you listen to like the first two Fit For An Autopsy albums, which I love, I still really enjoy, they definitely were firmly in that camp of kind of like what was happening at the deathcore genre at that time. Once Nate Johnson's exit from the band happened, Joe joined, you could see them start to branch out further and further and further. And this is just kind of that continuing, portion of it. I think, seeing the one pattern that happened in the song where they were kind of doing some fretboard work and drummers playing 16th notes alternating between the ride bell and the hi-hats. It's a very progressive style of playing. And what I mean is that's a big trope in progressive music, is kind of mimicking the 16th notes between what you're doing on the fretboard with like the tapping and the cymbal work. That's something that you hear a lot in that style of music. And it doesn't take up a lot of time in the song, but it kind of gives you a little bit of break from the other breakdowns that are happening. And even just like the more melodic, clean style to the chorus. So I think that they've been able to kind of seamlessly weave in and out of adding these different flavors of music to their sound without sounding like they're compromising in any way, or out sounding like they're trend hopping in any way. Like there's just been a natural progression to the band. It's not like all of a sudden they were like, hey, we're going to just abandon everything we've ever done before and we're going to sound like this now, which sometimes that's perfectly fine. Like, bands do that all the time. That sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. But I think if you listen to their entire catalog from the first album up until now, you can see that very natural progression from album to album where they build on what they've done before. They don't necessarily throw it away, but they kind of continue to expand and continue to add new ideas, but they've done it in such a natural flowing way that you can really see them grow as a band. They've always been very good musicians, but you can see kind of their evolution as players in terms of songwriting acumen from the first album to now. I think Joe in particular, you can really see his growth as a vocalist. And there's just some guys in the band that are just monsters. Like Josane is one of the best modern drummers out there. You'll have to forgive me. I forgot. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head. But I mean, that guy is just doing things in the genre that really push it forward from a playing perspective. I think he's probably the closest thing to Chris Adler that we have right now. When Lamb of God started to really kind of come out and get big and blow up, it was Chris Adler's drumming for a lot of people that was a big talking point, because normally when you think about music, you think about the melody and that's what you kind of hum in your head, whether it's the cadence of the vocalists singing or the guitar riff or something like that. It's very rarely that you really think of the drum pattern. Probably the biggest example before what I'm talking about is probably One by Metallica. Most people remember the 16th note hits at the end, the darkness imprisoning me part. But when Chris Adler came out, people could recognize a Lamb of God song before Randy's vocals kicked in because of the drumming. His drumming was so unique and specific to the band that you were able to identify them by the drumming. It's not often, unless it's something really, really unique, that if you hear a drum pattern by itself, you can pick out and go, oh, that's that song. But I saw this video a long time ago that this guy was doing where he was playing Chris Adler parts, and man, you just like, he starts and within just a few seconds you're like, now I've got something to die for. Like that, I can remember that. And I think Josane's drumming in Fit For An Autopsy, while I don't know if he quite hits that level of having that signature where you can immediately tell it's a Fit For An Autopsy song and which song by the band it is, he's got that just knack for hitting those little cool patterns, those little interesting fills, coming up with just interesting ideas that I really, really enjoy listening to, not just as somebody that has a drum background, but just as a fan of music in general. Like, it's such a nice highlight, because sometimes in heavy music, the ability to fit things like that into fast-paced music or music that has a lot of changes, it's very, very difficult, and it takes very, very skilled players to be able to do it. That's why we kind of, when we think of really heavy music, you know, there's probably only a group of maybe a dozen or less than a dozen or so drummers that you can really think of off the top of your head, because we kind of associate like, oh yeah, no, like Dave Lombardo, you know, guys like that, or like Joey Jordison's work with Slipknot. But for the most of the time, it's just like, yeah, you know, everybody plays the breakdowns and everybody's fast with the blast beats and everybody's fast with double bass, you know, because these things aren't unique anymore. They're not new. They're not fresh. You know, the current crop of drummers grew up playing like that. It's just like the guitar players that grew up worshiping like Randy Rhoads. You just started to play like that. So then, you know, that influenced yet another generation upon another generation. And now everybody can do that kind of stuff. So I think Fit For An Autopsy in particular is a very interesting experiment to look at as a band, because they do have such a solid through line all the way from album to album. And it's really, really cool. It's not even just like being a fan of the band thing. It's just from like a musical perspective, like really watching the growth of a band. Because it's kind of smaller steps. It's not these giant shifts in music that sometimes you see bands take. So I think it's just a really interesting thing. If you're a fan of the band, you know, really go back, listen to the catalog all the way through. Or if you're new to the band, again, listen to the catalog all the way through, see the changes, see the growth. It's really interesting. But I've rambled on enough. Why don't we be back in just a moment to have some final thoughts? Yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can add. You know, it's a great song. It's a great introduction to the album. With the album coming out, let's see, it's a couple months, I believe. Yeah, October. I imagine we'll get 1 to 2 more songs before the album comes out. And the tour, I believe, starts in October as well. No, yeah, they don't have the tour dates in the description here on YouTube, but I want to say that it's October that tour starts. Yeah, they you know, band just keeps getting better and better. You know, if you're a fan of the band, you know, I can't imagine you'll be disappointed with this song. And yeah, I can't wait for the album. It's you know, there's still a handful of albums to come out this year, in the second half of this year, that I am just super excited for. Them, Nails. This is out of left field for what we're talking about with this style of music, but you know, the Sabrina Carpenter album is still yet to come out. You know, there's some really good stuff to look forward to in the second half of this year. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you once again for hanging out and getting in the pit, and we'll see you again real soon.